Good evening and welcome to Doctor and Call. It's a pleasure to be back with you. Of course, every Tuesday evening at this time we do our Doctor and Call program where we provide or try to provide information for you that, of course, you can use to sort of better your health situation. There are many health conditions, and the beautiful thing about it is a lot of the conditions, if we do the right things, if we eat properly, we get adequate sleep, we exercise, just doing the correct things, we can significantly lower the risk of many of these health conditions that are plaguing us. Yeah. In recent times we realized that dengue is on the rise. We've been hearing in the news almost every night increased cases of dengue. There's also in the Caribbean they're seeing an increase in the rate of cancer. So there are a lot of things happening as it relates to our health, and there are a lot of things that can be done to lower the risk of us, getting ill from some of these conditions. So tonight we want to touch on a number of stuff, some general discussions on some of the conditions that are existing. Of course, we want to touch on cancer. We're going to touch on dengue. In fact, only recently, I heard St. Vincent last week. St. Vincent announced a number of COVID-19 cases. For a moment I thought COVID-19 was something of the past, but lo and behold, there are cases around. I guess, it's not a lot of attention is given to it these days, but it's around, So there are a lot of things that we need to be paying attention to, opening our minds and our eyes and our ears, so that we can protect ourselves. All right. So it's a pleasure to have you with us again, our viewers on GBN television, our listeners on K105 FM, and of course our friends on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Welcome and good night. Dr. Nixon is with us as always. Doc, good evening, and it's good to be back here on the program with you.
Good evening, Godfrey. It's good to be here, and it's better that we had 2 days of absolute wonderful rain.
Oh, you can say that again. You can say that again.
Yeah, and I know
indeed.
that everybody's preparing for Corpus Christi to plant their peas and corn and sorrel and whatever else we plant in this season. So we're grateful to God.
Oh, yes, indeed.
We're grateful to God because, I was telling somebody that 2 days, it was my birthday yesterday. Don't call me, okay? So, you and I.
It was your birthday yesterday. I didn't know that. We're supposed to go on a date. We're supposed to go on a date. And
I feel that way.
And I am ashamed because I mean, how could I not know it's your birthday?
I tell you, just like how a lot of parents know it's a wife's birthday and birthday, so don't be special.
We're gonna don't worry, we're gonna make that up. We're gonna make that.
I'll tell you what I was thinking. My thought on reflecting is that, it's been hard for me more than just the years of COVID and just recuperating and readjusting and a lot of movements I've made in the last 2 decades. But you know what I reflected on yesterday? How much time God has spent with me. And I think that's what we need to be thankful for. Every time we go and we call him out, he just like he always sit and wait, and like he can just clone himself into the 9 billion to take care of each of our cares at the point. And I think we need to be thankful. When the rain came on Sunday, I was really happy. Saturday, Sunday, we had rain all day. And I know that some people's activities may have been dampened. But my motto is no rain, no food, okay? So we're grateful to God and for listening to our prayers and just sticking by us and coming out right on time. That's what it is. There are a lot of things happening. I hear you talk about I hear you talking about COVID, and we talk about dengue, and we talk about cancer, and we can talk about HIV and a whole lot of stuff that's happening, and the wars creating malnutrition and allowing for diseases to proliferate, and vaccine preventable diseases like polio spread again, or it could be on the up, and measles, because we have so much upheaval in countries like down in Sudan and stuff where there's war
Yes,
and people
yes.
don't active don't have current access to everyday care. Emergencies, yes, but when it comes to vaccine and stuff, which is actually an emergency because you have less than 95% of your children vaccinated, you're in a state of emergency as far as preventing diseases that are so easily transmitted. Diseases like measles and polio and stuff for children. And diseases that when your children are in a poor state of health, they will become very ill and die. You see, because we haven't had that, so we don't understand it. If your children are in a poor state of health, generally, whether it's nutritionally or otherwise, the children subjected to war are in a poor state of health, mental health and otherwise, and physical health that comes off, and the deficit for food and feeling safe and being away from catching cold and all the rest. They're at risk and they will die. We have to put ourselves on the front burner and make sure that the things that we can prevent, that we do.
Of course, definitely.
Right?
Most
While we have the
definitely.
opportunities to do so. Things like measles, which is once in a lifetime, measles, mumps, rubella vaccines are only once in a lifetime. Pneumonia, children with that are in a little more vulnerable, that's more likely to get pneumococcal vaccine. It's probably given them to them every year. Children with sickle cell. We're talking about that today. And next month is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And we will talk about that when Sickle Cell Awareness Month comes up.
Yes.
But while we have the capacity to be well, I think we should. And again, we spoke last week about the Ministry of Health, including a wellness component. Or was it here? I've been so many places I don't even know. But the bottom line is that when you include a wellness component in our lifestyle, stay well, because you can have hypertension and diabetes and have had a stroke, but you're still well.
Yeah.
Because everything is under control. You have the ideal body weight. You're not anemic. You're not whatever it is. So we kind of need to be focused on other things. Yes, we speak sometimes about one thing, not only because it's topical, but because it affects us so much, but mostly also because we can take control of some of the issues that we're seeing. So I hope tonight would be a good show. It's probably a little hodgepodge, but we live in a hodgepodge world. And let's see how we can focus on all of that.
Yes, indeed. And you mentioned a couple of things, and I want to say this. We're hearing a lot about the dengue, and one of the things I think we need to pay attention to. One of the issues with and we're talking here now climate change, and it's the conversation that the world is having, and as temperatures rise, it makes the conditions for mosquitoes to breed much better. Mosquitoes, they thrive in warmer temperatures, and so
humid, warm temperatures, they love it.
Yeah, and
we have it down pat.
And if it continues, clearly we can see an increase in some of these diseases that are mosquito borne. So we have to pay attention to all of these things. Tonight on GBN, I saw there was a report of illegal dumping in the St. Patrick area, Swavan Swayze area. That's an area going up to Bathway. And people continue to do these things. Last week, on one of our law programs, myself and Mr. Ferguson, we were discussing the Abatement of Litter Act, and there are penalties for that. There are penalties for that. And so there are so much things that we need to stop doing. And if we stop doing them, we will help prolong our lives. So sometimes we just need to stop for a moment and think about what we're doing and what we're not doing.
We talk about throwing stuff. That's what we call our garbage, right? We have stuff. Garbage truck coming and go put this stuff by the road. We still don't have standards because in some countries you can't just put your bucket over there. You have to put your garbage in a bag to make sure that the dogs don't splatter it and all the rest of it. I look at merchants in town who can afford it, who just take their garbage and just throw it on the sidewalk when they can tie up the cardboard boxes, tie them up, get a string and tie up the cardboard boxes, flatten them and tie them up. They can put their other garbage from the store in a garbage bag and make it look aesthetically pleasing to say the very least. Not to mention the people who have organic material like food and stuff, right? To just throw it out in the garbage. It's unsightly. We have to develop a culture where stuff is just that, but stuff still needs to be treated by us as long as it's in sight, as long as humans have, the middle human being, you who walk on the road, everybody has visual access or even manual access to it. It must be put in a place that it maintains privacy. So in other words, I should not know what's in your stuff. You should not know what is in my stuff, and so it goes on. But it has to be a thing that we develop culturally. We have to say, I don't want my garbage strewn by these dogs. And people need to tie the dog anyway. But I don't want my garbage all over the place. I don't want you to know what's in my garbage. You should not be able to see what comes in my garbage. That's private, okay? We have to get to the point. So people shouldn't just throw in stuff. The other morning, I was driving into town, from around the cemetery and heading on Melville Street, and there's a big box, that may have fallen off from like a back of a truck or something, okay? I wasn't sure whether the box had anything in it, but 2 cars ahead of me stopped. And the driver asked a gentleman who was walking along the road if he can take it up and just take it and throw it down in the sea. I mean, a laugh, not good laugh, okay? I just took out the box and very comfortably threw it into the sea. And I felt very sad. I laughed all the way to her because it was frightening to see how comfortable, right? He just took the box, threw it over, that little boardwalk in front on Melville Street, near to the gas station, threw it over into the ocean, onto the bank, and continued walking. And while I appreciate his gesture, I asked myself, what would I have done? If it were me, would I have walked along with the box? Would I have picked it up at all? Would I have taken and put it in my car trunk until I get to a garbage point? Was I able? What was the status of inside the box? Right? Why did the man he just walked back to the side and threw it. So there are the questions we can ask, right? But until we create a culture that garbage is garbage and has to be disposed of in a certain way with dignity from our standpoint, people are going to throw stuff everywhere. Okay?
But you see,
so like leaving...
Doc, I remember, going to secondary school, my principal said to us once in Latin class, our brain is like a kitchen with different cupboards. And it doesn't matter when it comes to your studies, you cannot just open one and leave all the others closed. They all have to be open because they're all connected. And
integrated learning.
Yes, and here we are. The situation that you've presented. Now, this gentleman, yes, while he picked up the box, fine, but I wonder whether or not he understands that throwing
it will do more harm to the fish than it will do to my car.
But not only that, but there are penalties for littering. He can get charged by the police. There are laws on our books for that.
But we don't enforce the laws. But we can't enforce the laws.
And you see...
until we teach our population how to live that culture appropriately.
And you see, that's the point I'm making. That's how everything is connected. People need to understand and to be aware of what is going on. And then there is another problem which I worry. Are people really interested in learning and understanding these things? So much so that they have an appreciation of how, in this case, not doing that can actually help you as an individual. And there is so much that we need to pay attention to. And sometimes I wonder if we are.
And so we must become culturally appropriate. Right? It must be part of us, right? To not accept garbage everywhere. In Bermuda, if people don't drop garbage on the road at all. But sometimes things will fall. You have children walking with their parents, they might drop a tissue or something, and you don't know. I remember going to Bermuda, and in our orientation, we taught that if we see a piece of garbage on the floor in the hospital, or along wherever. Just pick it up and put it in the garbage can. So you don't see those things. One, because very few people do it. But if you see this, you see other people pick up a piece of paper or something that distracts what the normal clean environment would look like. Maybe we can come to that point. Maybe it's a thing of, like I say, the more we practice it, the better we become. But it has to become an accepted norm for a population before we can say, see that guy? Because maybe the walking guy, the pedestrian the other morning, should have been the one stopping traffic and say, hold on, let me take this out. Pulls it and he walks till he gets a garbage can. But then again, do we have enough garbage cans along the road? Because that's a very highly utilized corridor, right?
Yeah.
Between the bus park, between there, that walk where the students walk from the park school and other people walk to go to the stadium and stuff, right into town, right in town, into the tunnel. A lot of people use that park.
Yeah. But you
think about that.
You know, Doc, I think
have to answer that question.
You know, I think along the way we've lost a lot of things. You know, somehow the system has become broken, because I can clearly recall going to primary school. There was a song that we were taught as it relates to littering. Bits of paper lying on the floor. Pick them
Make
up.
the place untidy.
Pick them.
Makes the place untidy.
Exactly. So what has happened to that? Do we still teach our children these songs so that they learn that it is not okay to litter? And you see,
our parents teaching the children. Do parents know that, and do they want to carry? You see how people eat and just walk and drop the things? Is that what people do at their houses? Is that what you do? You walk around and you just drop the piece of, you light the matches, you drop it on the floor, or do you just drop it, or,
You see the
so
problem.
Recently, the municipal building in St. George's was demolished. As a little girl grew up in St. George's, they had a garbage can in front of the place, a big receptacle, concrete receptacle, that said, "Dirt will hurt. Keep the city clean." In those days, garbage was collected only from St. George's, as far as I know. And maybe I can be corrected in relation to that, but I was going to primary school in St. George's. And I remember that the logo, right? The motto on the things that dirt will hurt. The garbage trucks had it, dirt will hurt, right? Well, I think dirt still hurts, right? Dirty places can still hurt us. We've seen it. You just talk about mosquitoes like a corner where a drop of water and they're there. We know the problem with cockroach triggering off asthma in our children.
Rodents.
We know the thing with rodents. Mm-hmm. And there's a fabulous ad that's on the radio that I hear in the morning about the two guys down in Wall Street, and one eating fried chicken, one fling the ball. Piece of one dog soon eat that, right? And how he corrects and says, really and truly, he shouldn't be doing that. And that's for us to learn. That's for us to remember that you can't just eat and throw your food. But I see people do that, and they finish eat, they spit in and they spit out the bones, and then fling the box on the side of the road. We have to come from a place, and it has to come from how we keep our own surroundings. We've spoken ad nauseum. We've spoken to the sick, right? About not allowing water to accumulate because of the mosquitoes. Mm-hmm. We have 3 diseases that exist in our environment currently. Each of them as debilitating and as deadly as other one. You guys had chikungunya. I was not living here during chikungunya. The country in which I live, they don't have no Aedes aegypti. So I didn't have a chance of getting chikungunya or anything like that. We had chikungunya. That was in 2014.
Yeah.
Because I remember going to Jamaica in 2014 and they had the chikungunya. Then we had, what's the next one?
Zika
in 2018. That's only 4 years later. And Zika and its effect on our unborn children.
Yep.
And the potential for lifelong learning disability by something we can avoid. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, dengue, which was there before and there in the middle and thereafter and just always there. But when I was a child, there was no dengue. You know why there was no dengue? We never had Anopheles, what's it called? Aedes aegypti was a thing in the book. Mm-hmm. There was no, right? But we live in a global situation, in a village, in a global village. We travel everywhere, we travel back and forth, and we can bring, we can bring it. It comes, whichever it come on a boat, whatever it is. The bottom line is that we do have Aedes aegypti, which is a very unfortunate thing, but we have the power to control it.
We do.
We have the power to avoid to prevent ourselves from being stung, because I don't want my friend to come and say mosquito doesn't bite tonight, to being stung by these mosquitoes, right? And developing diseases that are deadly. Can you get dengue more than once? Yes. And the following dengue might be the type where you bleed and die.
Yeah.
Hemorrhagic dengue comes when you get it another time. It can happen, right? Apart from the fact that dysentery, look at chikungunya. People who had chikungunya a decade ago now. This is 2013, right? 9-10 years ago, we were having chikungunya, and there are people who still have severe joint pains and a whole lot of other problems as a result of a stupid little mosquito biting you, a mosquito that we have control over. So we're going to have to collectively come and sit down and say, okay, how are we going to sit in your household and figure it out? And there are very simple methods that we can talk about, right, of preventing mosquitoes coming around us, right? There is no shortage of information. You know my favorite instrument?
Yep.
Google it. Just write it in, and it tells you all that you want to know. You want to know about chikungunya and Grenada, write it in and it comes up. You want to know about origin of Zika, write it in and it comes up. You want to know how to treat Zika, everything is on our phones. And I wish we'd spend a little bit of our data learning about how we can make ourselves well. This would be well worth whatever you spend on data.
Instead of just spreading all sorts of information that makes
and running TikTok videos that don't make no sense.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah.
It's so, you see, and what is worrying and what can be in a lot of times annoying. When among us, a good friend of mine likes to say that when among us, don't pay attention to what is important. And then
amongst us, boy. You don't even know. Amongst us. No, that's the word.
That's why I quoted my good friend, like to say, among us. Yes, I think I can be forgiven for that.
Wonderful.
Yes, I can be forgiven for that. When we fail in areas like this, then we expect the authorities to work miracles for us. When we could have prevented these things.
And so in criticizing our shortcomings, I think we need to remind our population as to what we do. It's raining. Thank God, we probably got a little break and we're getting into the rain season kind of early, because the dry season has been hot, miserable. It's going to be hot still enough, but rain is going to come after. The dry season has been hot, very uncomfortable, very dry, a lot of dust, because we have
Sahara dust. Yes.
We have Sahara dust.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To the point of the water in my pipe look like my necklace. I kid you not. When I open the pipe, I see almost cola champagne sometimes.
Yeah.
Remember the cola champagne sweet drink we used to get, the kind of orangey one?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's because we just have surface water. Our water is collected from the surface, from our rivers and stuff. And so I'm not putting blame on Nawasa, because it's really, really small particles and probably very difficult to filter. But, we can do what we can at home. And we collect water. No, we still collect water, because all of us know when we plant corn and peas, we want to have water to make sure that they catch. There is what we do. What do we do with water we collect? First of all, we make sure that we don't collect water in places that water not supposed to collect in. So we need to open our drains. It's been dry season. A lot of leaves have dropped in your gutter and in your house, drop on the ground, drop in the drains. Yeah, take a little spade or a bass broom if you have concrete wall, and sweep out all the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
You can get our leaves for composting. Now that they're damp, put them in your compost heap, right? And put them in there so that they can be decomposed into a very healthy compost for food. So we don't have to use artificial. And you, as an environmentalist, would understand we don't have to use artificial fertilizers, because you have all these healthy leaves that have dropped. Or you just scrape up the leaf at the bottom of the tree and decompose right there and create fertilizer for the same tree, right? So collecting water, yes, it's still going to be necessary for a lot of us. but it's raining, so there's going to be water that's going to collect on its own. Each citizen must ensure that around your house does not have any receptacle or any area that water can remain stagnant. Mosquito only need 3 days, and mosquito, like, once there's water, they dive in. You have a bucket, you have a big drum, the big drums that we get to collect water, not to water your plants or to wash your dishes, whatever. Put a cloth over it.
Yes,
right?
have it covered. Mm-hmm.
If you can't find a cover, cover it. You must cover. You have plants inside your house. We live in a Caribbean, always like fresh plants, Proteanthurium lilies, whatever. Have a little lily, the other creepers that growing in there. That's fine, because we need to live in a place that's aesthetically pleasing. But please take it every week. Wash all the thing, wash all the stems, the leaves properly, and make sure that no larvae. Mosquitoes are conniving. I do all of this, and I still could kill 10 mosquitoes in the morning before I go to work every day. All right, so because there are a lot. I live in an area, and I live in rural Jamaica, in rural Grenada, and so there are leaves. And I know people have challenges. So what do? We protect ourselves. Mosquitoes are wrong. Take warning, especially with our little children. Right? Make them wear long sleeve, long clothes, right? Light colored clothes, because it's a little warm. Yes, very warm. Light clothes, but they must be covered. There are different safe rubs that we can put, like Odomas and peppermint oil and those things that you can spray around to kind of eliminate mosquitoes. There are natural stuff that are healthy, so we don't always have to buy the tin stuff that comes from foreign. Because that can be a little detrimental to animals if it's not environmentally safe and pet safe. I've had a dog that had paralysis, the 2 hind legs paralyzed, simply because they were cleaning and they sprayed the corner. The dog was even there when they sprayed, and the dog couldn't walk by the next day. So we have to be cautious for our pets as well. So we cover our children's skin. We close our windows early. Aedes aegypti like to come in the sunset or early in the morning. That's when you need them. So you close up the windows. If you're going to light up, destroy, if you're going to turn on your fan, if you're going to spray, whatever you're going to do, before people go into sleep, especially in their rooms. So at nighttime, your children can sleep comfortably. Because it's so hot, your children may not want to cover them, right? And sometimes when kids have dengue, we may not recognize it, come on like they have a little flu. But you don't want your child to have dengue once, and then the next time he's having hemorrhagic dengue. You have to be very cautious with that, right? But there are other things. People like destroyers. There are things that are environmentally okay, that are safe for human use, that we can use. Once you know it, do it. Keep your doors closed in the evening, draw your curtains in the evening, and keep those mosquitoes out, because we don't want to have the severe illnesses. And since the Anopheles and the Aedes aegypti spreads, Zika, it spreads dengue, and it spreads chikungunya, all of which start looking at in the beginning to look alike. You feel sick, your body hurts, and all the rest of it, right? You really don't want to have a guessing game as to what caused me to feel this way, right? So we need to take warning and do what has to be done, especially protect our children and old people who are more vulnerable and can't make those decisions and take action for themselves. Indeed. Those are the populations you really have to look for. We don't want a woman who just become pregnant, especially if you're planning to have a baby, want to become pregnant. You have to make sure that you don't pick up Zika. Zika's around there. We just don't have we don't see it as much because we don't have an epidemic or a pandemic on, right? An epidemic meaning that it's related to the environment in which you are. But it's there. It's there. It's slowly, it's there on the down low, right? If I can give to everybody else around me. And so we all have to be careful. One of the things we tend to forget is that when people already have a disease like that is so catching, like Zika and stuff, right? We tend to forget that they have to take precautions. They need to isolate themselves so that they don't have the opportunity to spread the whatever infection they have to other people. We tend to forget that. And so I'm going to ask you. There are other things going around. So if you're a little worried, just go get tested. Sometimes in the health center, they have facilities for checking for those diseases, chikungunya. Well, not chikungunya, but dengue in particular, since the numbers have really been rising, frightfully so, because we don't want anybody to get hemorrhagic dengue because nobody's going to be able to help you. And nobody's going to be able to help the person who has hemorrhagic vein.
Yes, yes, indeed. So, folks, it's important, and Doc always says, if it's one thing you take from the program, please apply it, because, sometimes we have the tendency to play Superman and Superwoman, and we believe we believe that nothing can happen to us. That can't catch me. But I'll tell you, when it does catch you, or when you do catch it, you'll be singing a different song.
Thank you.
It's always better to prevent these things from happening. Because I'll tell you, and from being on the program here, you learn quite a lot from having this discussion. A lot of these things, they present differently with different people. So how it might affect me may not affect you the same way. And we saw that with COVID. Some people had a really difficult time. Some people died. While some people, they got COVID.
Didn't even know they had COVID.
Didn't even have, exactly. So, these things, they present differently. And you just don't know how it will affect you. So, best bet, avoid it. That way, you'll be safe. You don't wanna experience that. It's better that you don't have to talk about your experience. It's better to
read about it.
Yeah. No, definitely. And
better to read about it.
And so this is just the whole dengue and the mosquito thing. As Doc said, now it's raining. It can become prevalent. So we have to pay attention. Remember, things like coconut shells, little bottles, any little thing, cans around your house, all of these little things.
Some of our plants tend to accumulate water. What do you call that thing? Wild pine that they use to plant straw and stuff?
Yes.
In the bottom of those plants, the bromeliads, all of those plants that have leaves that grow down like pineapple, water accumulates there and mosquitoes proliferate in there. One drop of water for a mosquito to lay and hatch and have babies. One.
That's
so
right.
If you have the situation wrong, you have to look for it. Look at it. My girlfriend plants her bromeliads in the wall, perpendicular to parallel to the earth. So they grow out as well, but they don't accumulate water. So she plants them in like decorative bricks and stuff, or tins that are stuck, containers that are stuck into the wall, right? Just so that she doesn't have a problem with bromeliads collecting water and having a place for mosquitoes to breed.
Yes, indeed. So, folks, let's pay attention to that aspect of it. It's very, very, very important. So, I'll tell you what. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll touch on another area that we need to be paying even more attention to. So, stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Omega XL is a highly concentrated omega supplement in a small and easy to swallow capsule. It comes from green lipped mussels, which are sustainably grown in New Zealand, away from pollution and civilization. These mussels contain EPA, DHA, and over 30 free fatty acids that together fight pain and inflammation. Omega XL contains 22 times more free fatty acids in an easily absorbed, bioavailable form, which means one small soft gel of Omega XL has greater inflammation fighting and pain relieving power than 10 capsules of standard fish oil. This is your moment. The moment to live life at its fullest. Don't let your pain get in the way. Get back to an active life. Omega XL really works.
Don't wait to find relief from inflammation. Get Omega XL at your local pharmacy or health food store today. You have nothing to lose but your pain.
Have you heard about the new Soft Weave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Soft Weave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue. Available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Soft Weave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Speysile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Speysile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. We operate at Grenville and the Carnage. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679 or 440-1500 or visit any of our locations. Speysile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor and Call, and we're having some general discussions this evening. And of course, our telephone line is open. Our telephone number is 435-2041. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask, you can definitely give us a call. And of course, we'll try to answer as best as possible. The number again, 435-2041. You can give us a call. All right. Doc, we spoke quite a bit about the dengue and all of that, and I wanted us to touch a little bit on the whole issue of cancer, because there are reports that they're seeing an increase in cancers in the Caribbean, and I can tell you from chatting with a few people, it's becoming very worrying, very, very worrying. And so I think it's a conversation that needs to continue, so that people need to understand, or we need to understand, the importance of significantly reducing the risk of us getting cancer. Now, we may not be able to prevent a lot of things, but I am certain that we can reduce the risk of getting it. Doc, am I correct in saying this?
So I want to ask, and I'm going to do the West Indian thing and answer your question with a question. Said is the biggest risk factor to cancer, one of the biggest risk factors to cancer.
Well, you need to repeat. You dropped off at the beginning, so I did not get the entire thing.
Okay, what I'm answering your question with a question. I'm being West Indian here, okay?
Yeah.
And like I say, Sonia, we're going, what you want to know that for? Okay, I'm answering your question with that question. What is the biggest risk factor that we recognizing to development of cancer? The O word. Obesity.
Yes.
So we can look at it from where we are, or if we can look at it from behind and try and prevent. There has been globally, and to some extent in Grenada, we have spoken about it here more than once, a movement to control obesity in our children. Okay? The former Minister of Education had made a decree stating that no sugar sweetened beverages are to be sold in schools in beginning of 2019. People were not happy. Granted, it wasn't a complete plan. The truth is that is still the desire. That we do not sell sugar is one of the greatest source of empty calories to our children. The Mexicans had a movement where they taxed the sugar sweetened beverages, the sodas and the juices and things that have pretty color in a box or in a bottle that children drink as a beverage, whether it's to quench thirst, whether it's to complement the meals they're having, whatever, that's what they drink. They taxed it and started buying less. Interestingly enough, the people who live in Mexico City live 20,000 feet up in the air, right? So their water sources are scarce because all the water leads downwards, right? So they drink a lot of sodas as their source of quench their thirst, right? Just by taxing and the sodas becoming more expensive, the consumption dropped. So did obesity among our children. So my question to all of us is, when are we going to take on measures to make sure that we don't have obese children? We have enough obese adults, myself included. We have enough obese adults. How are we going to break the back of that epidemic that is mushrooming in our very presence? I see children and we like our children fat, right? We choose not to breastfeed, right? Breastfeeding is one of the major ways of preventing obesity in children, because the children get exactly what they need. I told you last week, I saw a 5-year-old, right, who had never had any other thing but breastfeed. That's all she had, poor mother.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She breastfed exclusively for 2 years, almost 3 years. She fatso.
Yeah.
Right? But guess what? Healthy child, slim, healthy. She does not drink sodas. She does not drink juice.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes bad to her because she has been induced. Her palate has been introduced and groomed by what is healthy. We wouldn't give our children water. Why not? I know it's funny because the children want the water. You get them and they get accustomed to drinking it.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to change our behavioral patterns, or cultural behavioral patterns. Oh, now that I can afford it, I can buy the child, I can buy a sweet drink for the child. No, you don't.
Mm-hmm. You know, Doc,
we need to sell water.
I just want to
Maybe we
share.
need to sell water cheaper. Maybe we need to make water, good quality water, more available to our children exclusively in schools. Because you can't just say, do not sell sodas and don't give the children something to drink in school because they need it. Especially in this hard time where you're asking children to hydrate as much as possible, to drink as much liquid as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe parents have to take a little extra effort, make a little extra effort to ensure that their children have at least a decent bottle of water when they go to school in the day. But we're going to have to provide in our schools decent, portable, healthy, clean, non-contaminated water for our children to drink until they get to the habit of just drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your child don't work going, so him can buy soda because you don't have no money. I tell parents, your children poor, so I don't know why you're trying to make them feel like they have money and they can buy whatever they want. Mm-hmm. They can't. You decide what your children are going to drink.
Yeah. I want to.
So that's one of the things.
Yeah. I just want to share a bit of information with our listeners and viewers. And it's from the World Health Organization website, and it speaks to obesity and overweight. And that was that article was placed there on June 9th, 2021. So and I want us to pay attention to this, all right? 2021. Now it says worldwide obesity has nearly tripled since 1975. It goes on to say, in 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults 18 years and older were overweight. Mm-hmm. And of these, 650 million were obese. 39% of adults aged 18 and over were overweight in 2016, and 13% were obese. Most of the world's population live in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than underweight.
So we don't have malnutrition from that standpoint.
Right.
We don't have undernutrition. We have overnutrition.
Right. 39 million children under the age of 5. Let me just read that again. 39 million children under the age of 5 were overweight or obese in 2020. 2020. Over 340 million children and adolescents aged 5 to 19 were overweight or obese in 2016. And it ends by saying obesity is preventable. Now, we started talking about, we introduced the topic of cancer. And of course, we came to one of the main causes of it. And, when you listen to that, you wonder sometimes, well, why so many people die of cancer? And of course, yes, there are people who are not overweight and there are people who are not obese who die from cancer. But the majority, the significant percentage of people, because of that.
So we know also that many of the cancers have familial relationships.
They do.
If somebody in your family have it, for example, in the case of breast cancer, which is up to now a number one cause of cancer among women in Grenada, we know that the fact that you're female, you're at greater risk. If you're between 45 and 55, you're at greater risk. But you see women who are 25 and 35 who have cancer, okay? Who have breast cancer. So it doesn't mean that's when most of them happen. Under the bell curve, you have most of it between 45 and 55. And I've seen, like I tell you, my oldest patient I met with breast cancer was 90 something, right? We know that if you have had cancer before, your risk is increased. And if your mother and her sisters, or your father's sisters, right, and his mother, that generation, right, have had breast cancer, that you're at greater risk. We know that if you smoke, we know if you consume alcohol, especially at a young age, you're at greater risk. We know that if you have never had any children, never been pregnant, or if you've never breastfed, your risk is increased. We know that if you take, if you're exposed to radiation, right, you're at greater risk. We know that if you take hormone replacement, estrogens that they give to women to prevent the symptoms when they've had their reproductive, parts removed, your uterus, especially your ovaries, which makes estrogen, which is a female hormone, we're not yet greater. So we know. But we now know that obesity, again, it keeps coming up like a sore foot that wouldn't heal. But if it turns, once it comes up, it puts you at greater risk. But we also know that if you diagnose earlier, so we may not be on top of the fact, right? And we know that if your diet is, if you have a lot of all the garbage that we tend to eat, food that you don't even know what's in there, right? Your diet seems to put you at risk for what you think. We think toxins in our food, a lot of things that we don't know yet, right? We also know that if you keep screening, open the curtain, see if anything is there. You learn to do your self-breast examination. You feel something that's suspicious, you go to your nurse, you go to your doctor, you get investigated. If you're diagnosed early, your likelihood of death over the next 5 years is significantly reduced. I know that women become scared when they find something in their breast. I mean, not to go for things. But all you do is really leave yourself for severe suffering. And not just yourself and your family. Because it's not a pretty sight. When I say young women can have it, you're the young woman and your children see you dying and lesions that are, festering and all the rest. It's not pretty. Okay? So we have options. There's always a health center. This weekend, on Friday, in the next to Blue Street Mall, that corridor between the mall and Republic Bank on Melville Street, where the train comes out, when we have tourists, there's going to be a health fair there for women. There are opportunities to get your breast examined and to learn to examine, to learn. Learning to examine your breast is a major skill, right? It's a big advantage that women have, right? When you can examine your own breast and understand what is positive and what is negative about it, you can do this regularly and look for suspicious leaders. Someone says, what's going on here? And you go and screen. If you walk about willy-nilly and you don't tell, it's a different story. But there are opportunities. And like I said, on Friday, that's going to happen with the Food and Nutrition Council is having a health fair for women. So I'm going to ask women to come out and get an opportunity to get your breast examined or to talk about it, to talk about general health, because we have to be healthy. If you develop breast cancer, God forbid, okay, anybody who's out there, and your nutritional state is poor, you're going to go quick. You don't have enough defense, right? Your immune system gets shot when you have a cancer going on. That's why your immune system already been shot. That's why the cancer developed to start with, right? So if you're not nutritionally well and all the rest of it, and still continue to smoke and drink and party and rest, and you're gonna be ill very quickly and die much earlier than you really want to, right? The other things that we have to remember why it's so important to screen early so you can diagnose early. Because there's some therapies at the time people come for care, they need radiation therapy. We don't have radiation therapy in Grenada. The nearest place is Trinidad and Barbados. And when you go there, you have to find where to stay, you have to buy plane tickets, somebody to come with you. It really creates a great inconvenience. So I'm asking people, just be aware. You feel something, then go ask a nurse, harass somebody, let them, let the health sector be the person, the steward of your wellness. Okay? We know that we don't nearly exercise enough. That's one other thing. Lack of exercise also puts us at risk for having all malignancies. Right? So make use of the opportunities. Go seek. It's there and it's often costless. It's free to get your breast examined. You might have to pay for a mammogram, but it is free to get your breast examined by a professional. If you go to your health center, nurse will do it. Or if you want the doctor to do it, ask when doctor come in and ask doctor, please to examine your breast. Right? And that's breast cancer.
Right.
Prostate, which is other big thing, because prostate is probably our number one cancer currently. Okay, our men, and I'm sure you'd have known. You probably can name 3 people if you bat your eyes. Who do you know have prostate cancer? As men get older, they become more prone to having prostate cancer. So a urologist said, if he sees a man who's 80 years old and his PSA, which is the test that we do, right? And his PSA is elevated, he's not surprised. Because most older men, as men get older, they will actually develop prostate cancer. The thing is that prostate cancer is very, very slow growing. Therefore, it is necessary to get checked recently to figure it out. So we call the prostatic specific antigen, that's the PSA, right? On our patient. Yes, it's good to do a test, but you need to have an examination, because hear me now. The PSA normal levels is 0 to 4, right? 0 to 4. And if you're 20, we started at 40, because that's when the risks are higher. Some men want to do it earlier, right? But if you're 40 years old and you come to me and your PSA is 3.6, it sounds like normal still, right? But that for me is a red flag. It's still kind of high. Because if you're healthy,
that's if you're about 40.
0 point something, yeah. Right? It might be a first PSA. I will repeat it in 6 months and make sure. But I'm not doing a PSA unless I do an examination. It is very important, because that might be the telltale for me. That is likely to be the telltale. If I examine and the prostate feels normal, there's a normal prostate and an abnormal prostate, right? A normal prostate feels like here, like the tip of your finger, nice and soft and round, and you can press it. A sick prostate feels like your knuckles. It's hard, it's irregular, and you can figure out where it's growing irregularly, right? A lot of men don't like to have a rectal examination done, but every man I have had the opportunity to examine, after they've had the first rectal examination, if it's done properly, say, that's all. That's it.
Yeah, very simple.
Right? So find somebody who you can trust and go get your PSA and your digital rectal examination done. And like I said, if you are 40 and your PSA is 3.6, I'm like, why are you up from 1? Why are you up from 0.2? You understand? Because you're probably heading to that 4. You got me?
That's right.
If you're over 4, certainly I'm concerned. It might be an inflammation, but I'm still very concerned. It is therefore important that men have the PSAs and the digital rectal examination done every year. Indeed. By the same person, so at least they can figure out what they have in their notes and compare, right? But a lot of men just rely on the prostate-specific antigen. Well, that is not best practice. That's not what happens globally. That's not what the World Urological Society recommends, right? What the specialists recommend is that you have a digital rectal examination and a prostate. Again, people who have had their PSAs and who have been diagnosed early actually are at greater risk for survival. We have a greater chance of survival.
Right. I want to just go back a bit, Doc, and to look at the same issue of obesity. What is the relationship between obesity and, certain types of cancers? Does it have to do with the estrogen from the adipose tissues and so?
Pathways. But remember, when you're obese, it also can have an effect on how your immune system works.
Right. So
mostly that, how your immune system is able to do its duty and prevent stuff. Because fat has all these barricades it creates and the toxins it can create and suppressing how your immune system works is one of the challenges.
Okay, wonderful. There are some other common types. The lung cancer, which is closely associated with nicotine and things like that, smoke. A lot of people. In fact, there was one guy from my area. I remember as a much younger. You hear people talk about smoking and cancer in the chest and the lungs and things like that. And one day I asked him that, and he said, "I smoking for years, nothing ever happened to me." And it's a common thing you hear from people. Well, they've been doing that for a long time and nothing happens to them. Maybe not realizing that probably what they expect to happen doesn't happen, but presents in a different way.
And it can. We know that tobacco, especially the tobacco that is highly treated, has dozens of toxins, most of which are carcinogenous, most of which are likely to generate the development of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I really should have had my ugly poster that shows you how nicotine and the other toxins in tobacco, but nicotine in particular, what it does is harden the arteries and decrease circulation.
Mm-hmm.
So apart from all the craziness that goes on, and because nicotine is so addictive, and remind me that we need to talk about the vapes, that the vapor.
Yep.
that
Yes.
But we know that tobacco kills 50% of the people. So 5 in every 10 persons who smoke, right, especially cigarettes, who use nicotine, are either going to die from cancer, mostly, or from cardiovascular diseases and things like diabetes, because it does slow down the circulation to essential parts of your body, your brain, your feet, your kidneys, your eyes, your heart, right? Your skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you notice that people who smoke always look dry, look like you take a vacuum.
Yes.
Suck out the water out of their system. You stop smoke for 2 weeks and like, what did you do? Well, I stopped smoking, right? The appetite improves and all the rest of it. So that we don't have a problem with tobacco, but if one person in Grenada smokes, that's one person too much.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, the smoking is even worse when you have people having to tolerate secondhand smoke or third-hand smoke. Secondhand smoke is when somebody come and smoke in where you stand up. Right? I remember one night I was down at Godfrey, and a guy was sitting with his daughter. And this visitor, right on the edge, near to the jetty, came and stood at the door and smoking. And I said to him, "Excuse me, you know you're not supposed to be smoking in here." And he fly outside. Listen to me, the guy put on wings. Right? Because he was a visitor and he knows he's not supposed to be smoking in an enclosed place. He knows that's the law where he comes from. You smoke nowhere inside. right? And he came, and I said to the person sitting, you sat there with your child who was probably like 6 or 7 at the time. How was your daughter? 6 or 7, I don't remember. And you sit there and let this man smoke cigarette over your head? Are you for real? Why does your child have to inhale his exhale smoke?
So, yeah,
and then there's tertiary smoking, which is when someone live in a house and the carpet get it and the wall get it and the wallpaper and the furniture, and there's this constant toxins that you inhale daily. Your children inhale it, and they sleep on the sofa, they're smelling all this crap. That's why people ask that you do not smoke in their houses. Landlords, all right? But they're all just as bad. The people in Boston who advocated a lot, lobbied Congress, one of my professors lobbied Congress to stop indoor smoking in bars and in planes, right? Tell you of how the young people who are flight attendants were almost likely to always have a miscarriage if they become pregnant. All this tobacco smoke there on the planes, right? Close down batteries, dangerous. Baby, placenta can give oxygen, baby dies, okay? Or placenta comes up and the baby dies. Young men working in restaurants, you go into the restaurant, you close the bars on the restaurants, and these young men will be working at 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And people come and they smoke, they leave, they come and smoke, they leave. And these young men were all developing cancers from inhaling secondary smoke. They don't smoke and dying. And they went to Congress in the US and they put a ban on indoor smoking. It's hard to watch smoking. And then people who don't want to tell you can't smoke within 12 or 15 feet from the building. It's sad to watch smokers over a drum pan in the window in the winter with paper in the drum pan, and they're smoking because they need a fix, right? Nicotine is also very addictive. So what has companies like, I would not call on TV, those big, what we call big tobacco, what have they done? That biggest company, we all know who it is, right? Not in Grenada, overseas, right? And they have lobbied and lobbied and lobbied, and they pay people to go to Congress and put their case, and they've said, what have they done? They have put nicotine in vapes, and those nicotine and they still smoking, right? No, that system was originally intended to help people to quit smoking, because all it contains is nicotine, right? So you have somebody on smoking, they inhale, you see the patches, the nicotine. That system was intended for people to stop smoke, right? Stop smoke tobacco. But distributed this thing, you see a child have something that look like a pen, and he smoke, and he hold up. He gets his nicotine fit. When he can buy tobacco, he will buy cigarettes. And what they did, they took the vapes and they give you strawberry and bubble gum and I don't know what other flavor, like pineapple and I don't know, kiwi and those exotic flavors, right? And peach, I don't know, whatever kids like, whatever young people like. And they put that flavor into the nicotine and have them sucking it up. Not only will does it create addiction and have them at risk for starting to be smokers, they have seen, the studies have shown us where this nicotine in the vapes, those little things, they may as small as a little flash drive, right? Actually cause damage to the lungs. And kids have died in the US when they use it widely, right? And these are potential abusers of tobacco, users of tobacco, who are at risk. So if our children are already obese and eating crap, because I know some children who claim that they're vegetarian and all they eat is chips and pizza and sodas and stuff, right? Because they're not eating meat, but they're eating garbage, and they're obese and they have hypertension and they have diabetes even though they're not eating meat, right? Young children at risk already have bad eating habits of smoking tobacco very early in their lives, right? Because they're accustomed with this high level of nicotine in their system. And that is a problem. And you're already damaging their lungs. That's a bigger problem. Guess what? Let's get back into the Grenada context. We don't have no facilities for taking care of that. When our children get emphysema, which is that you have lung tissue damage and chest big and they can't breathe properly, like some of our chronic asthmatics, right? We do not have the health facilities, the health resources to take care of those problems. So it behooves us to prevent them as much as we can. So I want to tell parents, you see your children, they look at thing, they hold it up, ask them where they get it. It's very available. A young man told me that he was planning to distribute it. I tell him, trust me, I will fight you tooth and nail because that is going to destroy our young population. It's available to all of them. High school, right? High school, college, everybody has a little thing. And because it has flavor, it doesn't seem toxic.
Right.
It seems quite innocuous, right? It can't cause problems, but it does. And it will cause us and the healthcare system a lot of problems down the road because we don't have the wherewithal to take care of the permanent respiratory damage that our children are going to have very early because of the use of these vapors. Right.
Yes, indeed. And also quickly moving, just moving along, and we can go on and speak on these things for length, and of course we will deal with them individually over the next couple of weeks and so. But I just in passing, of course we mentioned the mosquito borne, the cancer, and of course some of the most popular the chronic conditions, which again. We can prevent the hypertension, the diabetes, and so especially these two, which can result in additional, more complicated situation for us, almost to a point where we can't.
Earlier in life, because you've already seen our young people, or adolescents, coming up with hypertension and having high blood pressure and having high cholesterol because of where we eat, okay, and the fact that we're not active, we don't exercise. Yes, there's a group of children who are very active and stuff. But a lot of our children eat a lot of junk, crap, okay? And I'm not saying not to eat fried chicken and stuff, but I'm saying, why you want to eat fried chicken every day? I thought fried chicken was a treat, right? The ramen soup, you know how much I hate ramen, right? So that I'm not even afraid to say it, right? The ramen that is basically cardboard hydrate, because it tastes like cardboard to me.
And sodium. Right? And sodium.
With high sodium, a lot of salt, that puts us at risk for having high blood pressure. And that oil, I don't know that oil comes from, but it probably has a lot of trans fats and things that will lead us to having high cholesterols, right? And other things that is not nutritional. It's not like there's even a little bit of dry chicken in there. You can say, oh, I got some protein. There's no meat. They talk about shrimps, but I haven't seen shrimp ramen on the shelf because I'm not looking, right? Treat like a dry shrimp that look like it make out of cardboard itself.
No, right? no, Doc, sometimes when and I've seen it, sometimes you go to the supermarket and there are people who come and their trolleys, I mean, a lot of times, sometimes 10, 15 packs of this thing on their trolleys.
Because it's just like the children's cell phone is another babysitter. They go home, they boil a cup of water, they pour it on it in the bowl, and that's it. They have a meal. But what it does is fill their bellies, but it doesn't add any nutrition.
And this is very, very, very important. Eating, but no nutrition, and this is where the problem comes. And you mentioned earlier about
because there's no protein in there.
Yeah,
there's not even a little decent fat. It's just carbohydrate. If that can digest, like I tell you, these things taste like paper anyway, right? All that salt and all that fat that our children consume, it's not good for them. The Mexican government actually banned the sale of ramen in the stores for that same problem.
I think our leaders need to take a more hard-lined approach to these things.
So
that seriously affect our
health. That's going to be my next. That's going to be my next point. The issue of policy.
Indeed. The
issue of policy. And policy is going to have to include ensuring that social access, that access to things that are healthy for us. Okay? How are we going to ensure that people plant what they need to eat? Or people have access to planting or access to even buying in the store that is affordable, right? That's affordable for them to be able to feed their family nutritionally well. Right? They're going to have to be policies on how do we feed our children in our schools, institutions. hospital, if you go hospital, if you go to college, if you whatever, wherever you're in the army, there must be a certain behavior, right? That is practiced as far as nutrition that comes from the leadership.
Doc,
Right.
let's take a telephone call. We have a caller on the line. Doctor and call, good evening. Hello.
Godfrey,
Yes, good evening, caller.
I wonder if we are not omitting the biggest factor of all,
Which is?
and that is parental irresponsibility. We're talking about what children eating, but the children ain't going and buy it, and if they do go and buy it, them children ain't walking away. We give them the money.
I agree.
I mean, I shocked when I hear the doc talk about treating fried chicken as a treat. That is the attitude. This is where cultural imperialism has put us. That's the objective reality. If parents insist that children have proper meals, whatever you choose to call proper meals, I ain't saying that we have to eat burger and fig every day or breadfruit or whatever it is, but this is where it starts. But if we are going to be giving them pizza, right, and macaroni pie every Sunday, and Kentucky or fried chicken as a treat, then we are going to be encouraging the wrong attitudes.
But caller, let me just
The
ask.
doctor also spoke. The doctor also spoke about a former minister laying down the law 2016 or 2019 concerning sweets and the use of soft drinks and sugars and so on in schools. But she did correctly say that there is no enforcement of it. This is not only the question of enforcement, it is a question of reinforcing a message or a policy position. So, for example, look at the same ramen that she's condemning. All of these things are advertised in a serious way. In fact, Godfrey, I will pay you these kinds of advertisements. But when we have the Ministry of Health or the relevant Ministry of Food and Nutrition Council sending out these messages, are we reinforcing it with the advertisement? Because say what you want, advertising plays a significant role in media these days, whether it is on Facebook, in social media, wherever you have it. And you just can't be talking about this stuff without doing the follow-up serial work. When I say serial work to reinforce the messages. Right? This is something I believe that we underestimate. We have to reinforce it. And if we don't reinforce it, people are going to lapse. I believe that there is a program run by the Ministry of Health or out of medical stations in respect of young, well, I don't know if it's young, but mothers, people who are pregnant, where, especially for, I believe, for first-time pregnancies, where they carry them through a range of stuff in terms of, properly taking care of the what it is, the fetus, baby, whatever it is, the baby in your belly, right? Are they extending that? Are they extending that kind of prenatal, you call it, doctor, prenatal education to postnatal care? Are we extending that? Are we telling these young mothers that you avoid the sugars, right? That you if you're going to eat carbohydrates, it's got to be the simple carbohydrates, and you're not going to find simple carbohydrates in your macaroni and stuff like that. You're going to find most of it in your local ground provisions and so on, if you could afford to buy it, by the way. So it is a question of attitude, right? The biggest thing is attitude, and children are not feeding themselves. Parents are feeding children, and parents are dictating the lifestyles of children, right? You can't tell me that you have a 5-6-year-old demanding that they got to have pizza for lunch, and you have to give them money to buy pizza in school or on the way, or wherever. This is foolishness. Make it worse. Corporal punishment has now become a cardinal sin, right? So we have to find other ways of enforcing or reinforcing these kinds of attitudes and values. Other than that, them children go walk over. Godfrey, that is my contribution. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, caller.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
thank you
I
very
think
much.
You really segued from where we're starting. What is your policy? It has to start from the top. And again, we started, remember, I keep bringing it up, the issue of health in all policies. So the Ministry of Finance must know, yes, we're going to tax sugar-sweetened beverages, right? The Ministry of Agriculture must know we have to find a way to ensure that not only that kids get the proper food in school, but that families know how to produce food for them to be healthy, so that what gets to market is affordable, right? Policies on how we eat what we import. while free trade doesn't allow us to stop importing stuff, right? Because that's how free trade goes, right? You can decide how much you're going to tax and how much you're going to avoid. You can decide what does not go into your schools as a government, right? But also, we know that it has to be integrated. You have to talk about nutrition and talk about it every day. And you know my favorite thing. Every day you go to church, Father uses the same Bible. He keeps reinforcing. Human beings need to be always reminded. We need to see positive outcomes. We need to understand. We need to put responsibility, like you said, where responsibility is due. A lot of us who didn't grow up very wealthy, we've been here probably in the last half a century, right? That our lives have gotten better. Generation of me, and we were the ones who went to university, and our children stepped up far. There are people who just, live differently. But the generation of the 70s, 60s, 70s, where we began to get educated and had better access. And what we didn't do was eat like our grandmother them teach us to eat, right? We now could go to the restaurants and, hey, I'm not condemning that. But like our children cannot eat fried chicken every day. I saw a company advertise they're going to sell fried chicken. I said to them, and I wrote it on Facebook, and I said, what? We already have probably 3 other restaurants in the area selling fried chicken. Why can't we offer our children something that's more nutritionally sound? Right? Why fried chicken? Why fried chicken? Okay? So, unless we can look at it, the whole picture, right? Unless families can come back and eat the way they used to, we're in trouble, right? Unless families can encourage. Oh, I grew up eating a blogger and fig in my life. Sometimes you only have to eat fig and butter, fig and red butter, and that's that. And there's nothing great to remember about that. But since we have advanced, I think we should take that opportunity for advancement to also be sensible of how we're going to use the advancement to live longer and healthier lives.
Doc, I am listening there, and I listened to the caller, and a number of things crossed my mind. And while we on this youth policy, now here is my difficulty. Something so important as health, and something that can and the effects of ill health and what it can cause on the public purse. I have difficulty understanding why is it that our leaders, for example, when the increase in taxation on sweetened beverages and alcohol and a couple of things came, and sugar actually was one, and there was almost an outcry, and people were, talking about it, and government started to, waver a little bit, and then they pushed it back. They pushed it back and did not have the gumption to say, look, this is where we're going, and we're going with that. Now, on the other hand, our same leaders, you come and you decide to increase VAT or increase income tax, and people cry out, and then you don't waver. Why?
Because it's about other things, which I should have mentioned.
No, but this is a very serious issue. And sometimes you wonder whether or not our leaders are serious about the things that they speak of.
I'll tell you why. Because this is what has bothered me. Are we increasing taxation on sugar-sweetened beverages so that we can cover over other things? So we can just, we had a big tax deficit because of COVID and the economic breakdowns that we experienced. Are we therefore increasing taxations simply because we want to make up on the deficit? Or are we increasing taxation on things like sugar-sweetened beverages and alcohol and drugs that are actually deleterious, that are harmful to the bodies of our population, that we need to remain well so we can be productive, right? And so that people stay well so we don't have to take out all the money. Remember that health is one of the biggest, pie in the budget. This is the recent budget, right? But there's so much to fix in health, so much to fix, right? That is going to take us a long time. When do we take that money then and make sure that it goes directly into the healthcare system? Or do we make up for the budgets we can fix? We can do bushing, we can do all the things that make us look politically pretty.
And that's that's the problem I'm having. We waver on things that are seriously important, and on other things, then we just And sometimes, you ask yourself, well, what is it? Where's the priority here? So we waver
it's
on
not
the
just
whole
priority.
issue.
Where's the priority? Like you said the word, and I haven't said the word. I'm not going to say the word that I really want to say. Where's the gumption? Because we have to lead with authority and with information.
Of course.
We have to make decisions we make, must be decisions we make in the interest of the well-being of the entire population. Okay? We can't spoil our children and make to ensure that our children are, and ensure at the same time that our children are well. What is not good for our children simply isn't good for our children. And sugar sweetened beverages are not. And tobacco is not good for our population. And alcohol is not good for our population. Right? Certainly not to the quantities in which it is drunk.
Another example. Years now we've been hearing talk about national health insurance. And up to now that cannot come into effect, but we hear of other things. Monies are placed in other areas, and you ask yourself why. And I'm not here saying that money should not be going in other areas.
I'm going to be very fair, like I've always been. I don't think that we can design and just implement a national health insurance.
I agree. I totally agree.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Just that lacks longevity, sustainability, that doesn't deliver to the population. Can we implement a national health insurance that is for profit by whoever invests? We are 100,000 people. We don't have critical mass, okay? So if you're going to say, Godfrey, I want you to put in $20 billion in this health insurance, right? You're not going to give me a $20 billion, okay? You want back. But we only have 100,000 people, and we're currently in a state where the general health status is not very good. We all know that, right? So are we going to find money that can fix what is bad and then look for investors? I'm asking this question because that's how we're trying to figure it out. Or can we have people who invest and shortchange the delivery? If we shortchange on the delivery, it's going to be a fiasco. It's going to be even worse, unless the delivery is going to be only at the primary care level. But currently, delivery is mostly free, accessible at the primary care level. Are we going to really make primary care the cradle of care for a population, right? But already there are a lot of people who are very ill. So how can we create a balance is very important. We have to develop a system that where people have every citizen, everybody who lives in this country has access, right? But everybody can get what they need to get.
Mm-hmm.
A national health insurance or whatever it is, whether people pay into it or you get investors, I can't answer that because I don't know what it is. What I know is that the Grenadian people deserve something that is sustainable, to which they have access, and that which will give people the best quality of care, especially at the primary care level. And wherever there are other catastrophic experiences, that you need to have a radiation therapy, or you need to have emergency surgery. You know what I'm saying? You need to have get your prosthetic leg. You need to get your medications. That all of those things are going to be made available, so population can live comfortably. In the interim, as well, you also need to ensure that it's appropriate education, so people live not expecting, not afraid, not expecting that things will just happen just so. People live knowing that they too have responsibility to stay well, they and their families.
No, and I like the note that you ended there on. People should understand the importance of living well, so they can, the point is, you see, for example, with the issue of the national health insurance, why can't we contribute? Why can't we contribute?
Because who's going to contribute is probably not going to be the people who use. Because there are a lot of people who are unregistered. There are vulnerable people, who can't afford.
But we need to put things in place. We need to put things in place. We have to, look. Sometimes I marvel at the behavior of some of our people when they consume large amounts of alcohol. The kind of behavior. I don't know if you saw a video that was circulating over the weekend with some young men on the top of a Honda van.
On the top of a van. I hope they're in jail.
And you know, and of course drinking and doing all of this stuff. But you see this kind of behaviors, and you know why these things happen. You know why these things happen. And you know,
and it comes back to what I just used. It has to do with a sense of responsibility to self and family.
And our leaders need to put the policies in place, one, to stop and show some of these things do not happen, and so if they don't happen, no, everything has its effect, you know. Everything has its effect. Down the line, one thing influences the other. And if we put the correct policies in place, then you would see changes and differences, you know, being made. And I am certain about that. But until such time, we have to continue to put the message out there. We have to continue to make information available to people, you know, so that somewhere along the line, we catch on and we understand the importance of good health, you know. And I want people to live healthy, because when people are unhealthy, then, you know, all of that affects other people, because, you know, monies that could be placed elsewhere.
That ill health affects the productivity of our country.
But of course, it does.
We talk about this is a time when you want to have change, transformation, move from one place to the other. It's going to have to take in all facets of our life, right? I'm not going to stand here, smoke, weed included, smoke tobacco, drink rum, don't exercise, eat all the garbage, party, don't sleep, and expect that you get up every morning, exercise, work hard, be productive, right? Make sure you pay your taxes and all the rest. Pay into the national health insurance so that I can be whatever I feel like. I know my sugar is high, but I continue to drink rum and smoke tobacco and all the rest of it.
This is where my problem lies, and it happens not just in with that kind of behavior, but let us look at the percentage of children that we are producing that will not be able to make a serious contribution to the development of our country.
The future of this country. And I tell you what bothers me, Godfrey. On a day when it don't rain, we only 100,000 people here. And it bothers me that our critical mass is so low, and there's so many ills that occurs in our health system that make sure, in general, health among our population, that makes for us not being as productive as we can be. The interesting thing that we have a relatively low population. We have a relatively young population for the most part.
But out of that young population, what is the percentage of productivity that we can expect from that?
Are we giving them the right direction to be their very best?
Doc, it's just about time for us to wrap. But I am suggesting here that we continue that conversation next week, because I think it is very, very important. And we need to show how the all of these things are tied into our health system, and how it can affect us as a country and other sectors of our country. I think it's very, very, very important. This discussion has gone down a road which I think is probably so important that we need to continue it. We need to continue.
Thank you.
We need to continue.
So again, what would I leave my audience with, and Grenada in general with tonight? We kind of need to take responsibility for ourselves. The facilities are there to figure out what's going on. We need to start learning, teach ourselves. There are a lot of things. I want to crochet, I go on Google. I want to learn to drive whatever machine, I go on Google. The information is all here on the information superhighway, right? It's all there. You can go to the library, there's a library in town. It's all here, right in your hand. This is not just for looking at Facebook videos and chatting to your friend on WhatsApp and gossiping, and even for just doing homework. This is where knowledge lies. I'm going to ask you to start reading up about stuff. Tonight we spoke about self-care. Again, I want to remind people, make sure your children are vaccinated. Okay? Make sure your children are fully immunized. It makes sense. The holiday, summer holiday coming soon. One child comes from New York with measles and we up a creek with no paddle.
Yep.
Or one child comes from New York with polio and we up 2 creeks with no paddle, right? Because our vaccination levels have come significantly down. Yes, party time time come. We have a holiday Monday. We have our next holiday 2 weeks from that, right? And carnival in the air and calypso tent and we all there partying. Let's do this. I don't know about drinking responsibly. I know that if you're going to have a drink, have one drink. If you're going to have a drink, have one drink, right? Guess what? You cannot empty the vat, neither at the rum factory, nor anywhere. You're going to eat moderately. Let's do everything in moderation and be responsible. How well do I want to be at the end of carnival? Do I want my diabetes to be so high that they have to amputate my leg because my circulation has been so compromised for so long? How much am I going to use the services available? Because there are a lot of services that does not cost people, right? Take stock and go back and see, how can I fix my health? Okay, it can be. Go to your doctor, man, go get screened for prostate cancer. Trust me, you'll be glad you did, right?
Yes.
Women, their breasts, do your pap smears. Their facilities, like I said this week, the women, we have GFNC, Food and Nutrition Council, having a health fair. Come around and there's a lot of information that can be shared. Come ask questions, write your question down. I don't care. I like questions that you think stupid because it makes me understand where you're not. Ask a question, let's get ahead. Men, find a place where you can do a prostate screen. I know there's a men's health fair on June 10th, I think, in a stadium. Is a place where men can go and get their screening. There's also an event, the Catholic Church has an event next week on the 4th, which is Trinity Sunday, the week after Pentecost, after Whitsun weekend. They're going to have facilities for people to come ask questions, whatever it is. So the Catholic population that goes to that Trinity meeting at last suggest, there will be opportunity for you to ask questions. But there's always a health center and your GP. When you go, write your set of questions and ask. Because we have to conquer all the ills that exist among 100,000 population. On a good day, we're not a lot of people. We can fix this. But everybody has to take responsibility.
Yes, indeed.
Stay out of the rain, because there's still cough and cold to be gotten for the rain. Cover yourselves. Make sure mosquitoes don't get into your space. And I wish everybody a happy Pentecost and Whitsun weekend.
Thank you very much indeed, folks. We thank you for staying with us. It was indeed a pleasure. We do hope, at least as Doc said, there's one thing that you can take away from this discussion here this evening. Be sure to join us next Tuesday. We are going to continue this discussion because there's always a lot to discuss when it comes to our health and things we can't do to help, reduce, risk that can affect us. So thank you. Of course, I'll be back with you tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, and we will have a good time as always. Do have a good night. All the best.